Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. 46.1%. Jamaica is now seeing a significant increase in the COVID-19 positivity rate. Tropical Storm Grace watch remains in effect for Jamaica. And later in sports, World Athletics Under-20 Championship pushed back by a day by organizers. I'm Shane Masters. Here are the details. Jamaica has seen a significant increase in the COVID-19 positivity rate. The latest data from the Ministry of Health show that the positivity rate is now 46.1%. The ministry says 513 new COVID-19 cases were reported on Sunday from 986 tests. The total case count is now 58,458. St. Catherine recorded the highest with 134 cases. Kingston and St. Andrew recorded 94, Westmoreland 93, and St. James 54. Meanwhile, 11 people have died from COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. 4 deaths from Kingston and St. Andrew, 2 from Manchester, and 1 each from St. Elizabeth, St. Catherine, St. Anne, Westmoreland, and St. Mary. The death toll has increased to 1,311. Hospitalizations continue to increase. Now 443 people are in hospital for the respiratory illness. 46 are critically ill. There are 9,297 active cases on the island. A tropical storm watch remains in effect for Jamaica as Tropical Depression Grace prepares to move closer to the island while re-strengthening. According to the Met Service, at 10 a.m., the center of Tropical Depression Grace was located about 510 kilometers or 320 miles east of Morant Point. This is also 140 kilometers or 85 miles southeast of Port-au-Prince, Haiti. Grace is moving towards the west near 15 miles per hour with maximum sustained winds 35 miles per hour. Grace is expected to regain tropical storm force by Tuesday. On the forecast track, the center of Grace will pass near the southern coast of Hispaniola today and tonight, and then pass between Jamaica and Cuba on Tuesday as a tropical storm. Widespread showers and thunderstorms associated with the tropical depression will start affecting the island late tonight, continuing through Tuesday. The Met Service says flash flooding and possible landslides are expected across the island. To an update now in Haiti, the search is still underway for hundreds still missing following Saturday's earthquake. Nearly 1,300 people have been killed. Thousands of people have been displaced, worsening the social crisis in the French-speaking nation. Even as hospitals become overwhelmed with treating injuries, a possible spike in COVID-19 cases is worrying some people. President of the Haiti-Jamaica Society, Myrta Desulme, describes the current situation.
There's a shortage of hospitals, shortage of oxygen, shortage of PPE, shortage of everything. So clearly, this will inevitably worsen the COVID crisis. But, we have to deal with everything one step at a time.
Ms. Desulme says efforts are being made at this time around for a strategic plan to be established to prevent a recurrence of the chaos which followed the 2010 earthquake.
We want to ensure that Haitian civil society and the Haitian diaspora take the lead in this rescue mission so that we don't have the same disaster on a disaster. In other words, a man-made disaster following a natural disaster, which is what happened in 2010 when all of the NGOs went to Haiti and there was no control. And a lot of organizations ended up raking in millions of dollars while Haitians were left living in tents for years in wastelands with no water, no electricity, or anything.
Speaker of the House of Representatives and Member of Parliament for Trelawny Southern, Marissa Dalrymple Philibert, was yesterday charged with breaching the National Solid Waste Management Act. She was cited for illegal dumping following an incident in St. Anne. She was charged along with 2 other persons. National Security Minister Dr. Horace Jang says he was informed of the case.
That a formal charge was laid by a constable, which is right to do. But it's It's a simple issue. There's a misunderstanding about the particular venue, and the solid waste will have to inspect and report on it to follow through. But it's essentially a ticketing issue, but we don't tickets now. We have to someone until we get our formal ticket system in place, which I am working at, and it will be based on the traffic ticketing system, which I'm now finalizing, and then we can broaden to get a generic ticket system for public order issues.
She is scheduled to appear in the St. Anne Parish Court on October 7. An emergency meeting has been called by the Ministry of Labour and Social Security with the Jamaica Public Service Company and the Union of Clerical and Supervisory Employees UCASE after the trade union warned customers to brace for disruption in power amid news of an impasse over the non-payment of incentive program. Kelisha Williams reports.
The Union of Clerical and Supervisory Employees UCASE is advising the public that they may be in the dark in the coming days. The announcement comes in light of news that the Jamaica Public Service has used monies set aside for employees for a performance-based incentive program for 2016 and 2017. General Secretary of UCASE, John Levy, says the payments, which were due in 2018, affects about 400 employees, and now customers may feel the domino effect of the news.
I think the public, when it comes to JPS, they understand fully well what it means when you owe them. What can happen to you, and the workers are in a also similar position where they are owed, and the companies treating them in a way that the company itself would not want to be treated. When the companies owe, they want you to pay them, and if you don't pay them, they cut you off.
Mr. Levy says the utility company's response is unacceptable and sets itself up for a potential wage theft issue. He says the union is trying to maintain calm among the affected workers who were expecting to receive their payment in January following an intervention by the Ministry of Labour. However, 6 months later, they're being told a different story. The General Secretary alleges members of the JPS management team were paid their incentive, one we couldn't verify at the time.
We have had discussions up to maybe 2-3 weeks ago, but we have written to them and they have not responded. And we have had discussion and they have just told us, in a kind of nonchalant way that the money has been used up in other years of the business. And we're not accepting that because they found money to pay the managers their performance incentive payment, and the technical and administrative people, they have told them that the money was used up in other years. That cannot be. Those days are long gone.
But Director of Corporate Communications at the JPS, Winsome Callum, says there was no agreement between the company and the union on the incentive payout. She says the matter is now with the Labour Ministry. She says an emergency meeting has been scheduled for Tuesday, August 17 with all parties. As for the incentive program, the UK says it is still very active. However, it has instructed the workers not to participate until the JPS makes good on the payments at least. Kelisha Williams, TVJ News.
St. Mary has recorded 69 serious and violent crimes so far this year. However, head of police for the parish, Superintendent Bobette Morgan, says just half of the crimes have been solved. Shamala Pullen reports.
8 months into 2021 and 12 murders have already been committed in St. Mary. But this is a decline when compared to 21 last year this time.
In terms of the areas where the murders were committed, 1 in Islington area, 2 Anatto Bay, 3 Richmond, which one had only 1 last year. Arakabessa 3, and you know how 3 for Richmond came about. Arakabessa 3, Gale 2. So we have had none in Port Maria, none Castleton, none Highgate, none Belfield, none Retreat, and none in the Prospect Police area since the start of the year.
Where shootings are concerned, head of the St. Mary Police, Superintendent Bobette Morgan, says the parish recorded 10 compared to 6 during the same period last year. However, there's been no reported case of rape. Last year this time, there were 15 reported cases. As for aggravated assault, 14 were reported, but they have all been cleared.
In terms of robberies, we have had 12 robberies since the start of the year. Last year this time there were 15. and 3 have been cleared. For break-ins, that continued to be a challenge for us. But what we find, continue to find, is that a lot of the properties are not secure, is not safe. They're not safe. They have not been properly secured, and that is a part of the problem. We have been doing our target hardening in terms of encouraging persons how to. What we find as well is that there might be cameras, whether at the location or other within close proximity. However, we have found that sometimes cameras are not really operational.
Larceny 2 so far. There were 3 cases last year at this time. Superintendent Morgan is again appealing to citizens to assist the police in the fight against crime.
The whole matter of seeing blind, hear and deaf, that is affecting investigations, because if nobody is willing to tell us, if you saw and nobody is willing to tell us what happened, then it's going to be a challenge for us. Where we're using the technology to assist us with solving crimes, and that has been helping us a lot in terms of picking up, using the DNA, using the scientific evidence and so on to solve crimes. But eyewitness information is very, very, very important as well.
Shamela Pullen, TVJ News.
And it's time for a break here on the Midday News. Stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. Despite the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, the island has achieved another record in tourist arrivals. The revelation was made by Tourism Minister Ed Bartlett. Last year, the tourism sector was reeling under the pressure of the COVID-19 pandemic as the island's borders were closed due to a global spike in cases. There were also travel restrictions for 2 major tourism stakeholders, the United States and the United Kingdom. But now, record arrivals. Tourism Minister Ed Bartlett says the achievement is significant for the island, considering that up to March 20 last year, there was no earning for the sector.
We now have generated, since the opening on the 15th of June 2020, a little over $1.5 billion of foreign exchange earnings.
For the period currently under review, the minister says arrivals have increased by 5,000%, while earnings have increased by 3,900%. Mr. Bartlett says a task now is for the local production sector to meet the demands of the tourism sector. He says while it was met in the previous quarter, there's a level of uncertainty presently.
In the second quarter already, we have an increase of nearly 300% over last year's second quarter. In the month of July that just finished, we had 274% increase. And August is now trending already at 174% over the same period. So, and it's just trending. And we are seeing that we should end in over 200% for August. We are projecting that the second quarter will end, in a similar vein, and we will have pretty close to 300% increase in arrivals. That will further buoy the growth projections for the overall GDP.
Mr. Bartlett says the ministry's projection is that at the end of the financial year, the sector will record approximately 1.8 million tourist arrivals, which would be 500,000 to 600,000 more than 2020. Meanwhile, revenue is expected to increase by some 59% over the last financial year. In the meantime, tourism interests are being urged to become vaccinated or face the consequences. The warning from Tourism Minister Ed Bartlett as cruise ships return to the island today.
No cruise passenger will go to any attraction that is not COVID certified by TPDCO and the JTB and have licenses to operate as per the amusement license requirement of the local government ministry. And I want it to be very clear that you can come after me if you want, but we are not going to allow the opening for cruise to become a point of concern for the health and security of our people.
And it's now time for the Business Minute. Here's Cody and Barrett.
In business news, Jamaican Olympian Usain Bolt is investing in another business process outsourcing center. The property, encompassing 60,000 square feet of land, is to be built at 30 Hope Road in Kingston and has already been approved by the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation. The center will be leased for $89,647 monthly to a single tenant. A prospective lessor is being secured before erecting the facility. The building itself will span 51,100 square feet and will be able to accommodate up to 2,500 employees. Dolphin Cove Limited released its financial statements for the 6 months ended June 30, 2021. It recorded a net profit of $1 million. According to the company, this was due to the increase in sales and the strict control over fixed cost and expenses. In the same period last year, the company recorded a net loss of $270,000.
Now for a look at the top regional and international stories. In news from the region, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, says the Antigua and Barbuda economy is expected to contract by 1% this year after contracting by nearly 18% last year as the island continues to grapple with the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. It said that the domestic lockdown and border closure in early 2020 prompted a collapse of tourism-related activities and that the economy contracted by an estimated 17.3% in 2020. In news overseas, schools across the Florida Panhandle closed today as they brace for Tropical Storm Fred. The National Hurricane Center is monitoring Fred as it maintains winds of 50 miles per hour heading towards the Sunshine State. Fred was downgraded but increased its strength and regained tropical storm status Sunday morning. And it was chaos at Kabul's airport as people hoping to flee the country rush towards the terminal. This comes after the Taliban entered the Afghan capital on Sunday. According to the U.S. State Department, more than 6 countries are calling for the safety of people who wish to leave the country. 6,000 U.S. troops are now tasked with securing the airport's perimeter. This comes as some airlines suspended flights or reroute to avoid Afghanistan airspace. And that's it for your Midday Roundup. We head to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your Midday Sports Report. Simon Preston is standing by.
Welcome back. It's now time for Midday Sports. I'm Simon Preston. The World Athletics Under-20 Championship set for Tuesday in Nairobi, Kenya has been pushed back by a day by organisers. World Athletics says this decision has been made to give all participating teams an opportunity to settle into the African continent. According to the organisers, this has not affected the schedule of events, as it now means the championship will deliver a fuller and faster-paced 5 days of events. Jamaica picked up 4 gold, 5 silver and 3 bronze medals at the 2018 edition of the championship in Tampere, Finland. Newly elected president of the Jamaica Golf Association, Jody Munborough, says improving the national junior program will be a priority in her tenure as president of the association. Munborough, who is the first female president of the JGA, replaces Peter Chin, who was serving in the post as president for the last 10 years. Chin did not seek re-election. Munborough is also hoping to stage more events on the island.
In addition, we have to build on our junior golf program, which has been doing very well, and we want to continue on that, harmonize all of the various golfing coaches throughout the country and get a conducive and a wholesome program. I'm also hoping that I could attract an American Junior Golf Association tournament to Jamaica, which will also help to uplift the whole view of junior golf in Jamaica.
To football we go now, as 7-time winners Portmore United will be looking to move to the top of the Jamaica Premier League as they face Arnett Gardens at the Captain Horace Burrell Centre of Excellence at the University of the West Indies this afternoon. Portmore United are second in the table on 13 points, while Arnett Gardens are at the foot of the table on 4 points. Kick-off is at 1 o'clock Jamaica time. At 3:30, Tivoli Gardens will battle Dunbeholden at the same venue. Humbeline blanked Harbourview 2-0 in the lone game on Sunday. Reggae boy Junior Flemings scored his 4th goal of the season in the United Soccer League as his Birmingham Legion side were held to a 1-1 draw by Memphis over the weekend. In his 7th appearance of the season, Flemings netted the opener in the 37th minute. Flemings won the USL Golden Boot last season after scoring 14 goals in 15 appearances. The 25-year-old was a member of Jamaica's squad at the 2021 edition of the CONCACAF Gold Cup. And finally, to Central America we go as reggae boy Kemal Malcolm scored his first goal of the season for El Salvadorian club Chalatenango in a 1-1 draw against Santa Tecla over the weekend. The 31-year-old forward scored the opener in the 11th minute. Malcolm is in his 2nd season with the club after scoring 8 goals in 11 appearances last season. And that's the final whistle for your midday sports report. I'm Simon Preston. Ashane, it is over to you.
Thanks, Simon. And that's the Midday News. I'm Shane Masters. Join us at 7 for primetime news. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.